why Bangladesh is so intolerant to history, why it cannot leave a leader who died some half a century ago at peace.
It was like every regime tried to destroy our social structure, political structure, and it was influenced by some superpowers. It was not only just it was not internal problem today we are facing in Bangladesh, problem we faced in 1975. It was not only national problem, it was an international project or international interest. Yunus is a result of colonial surrender. That's why we see the intolerant Bengali are not tolerant. But if you talk to an individual who has no education, who has no political line, nobody will show their disrespect to the history of 1971. But this regime purposefully assaulted all the spirits of 1971. Why they are angry at Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman? Because he is the main architect of Bangladesh. In fact, they are angry at Bangladesh. They cannot accept the independence of Bangladesh. Now Bangladesh is no more a Bangladesh under the leadership of Muhammad Yunus. It is simple Pakistani Afghanistan.
If you have to whip up a leader who died 50 years ago, then it means that that leader was too tall for you. Hi, I am Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. I have with me Mr. Anisur Rahman, whom you have seen in the past. Anisur is a Bangladeshi-Swedish poet and playwright. His books are translated in many languages across the world, including some Indian languages, African languages, etc. He writes columns regularly in newspapers across Asia on Bangladesh issues. Obviously, we will discuss Bangladesh today, but with a little difference. As you are aware, on August 15, India will celebrate its independence in 1947. On the same day, in 1975, Bangladeshi president and face of its 1971 liberation war, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was killed along with most of his family. Even a kid was not spared from bullet. Mujibur Rahman's two daughters, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and sister Rehana, were away from the country and survived the attack. Last year, Bangladesh witnessed an uprising against Hasina government. The government collapsed. Those who assumed power have gone after the memory of Mujib, fondly referred as Bangabandhu or friend of Bengal, for his secular pan-Bengali outlook from the word go. Last year, the Dr. Muhammad Yunus administration cancelled the holiday on August 15. In between, his residence, which was converted into a museum and was a public property, was torched. That was before Dr. Yunus had taken over. Later, when he was very much the de facto prime minister of the country, official designation is chief advisor. In February 2025, the very students who were credited for the successful uprising led a mob to demolish the building into rubble using earth movers. A lot of things were done since then. A lot of abuses were hurled at Mujibur Rahman, and a few days ago, the press secretary of the de facto Prime Minister, Nobel Peace Prize winner, Dr. Muhammad Yunus, declared that whosoever commemorates the death of the slain leader will be punished. This is illegal, but who cares about legality in Bangladesh? To tell you why I am interested in it, as you are aware, India was partitioned at birth, and Bengal was where I am stationed at, was divided into two based on religious dominance. Mujibur Rahman had struck a chord on either side of the border. I, for example, grew up in the 1970s listening to his recorded speech where he had given the call for independence from Pakistan. I think I can recite quite a few lines from that. So, my interest in the subject is not only legitimate, it is also a bit sentimental. Anisur, that said, my first question to you, why Bangladesh is so intolerant to history? Why it cannot leave a leader who died some half a century ago at peace? How do you relate to the fact that a Nobel Peace Prize winner is carving the very basic human rights of people to commemorate their dead liberation hero? Over to you.
Thank you. Let me go back to the history in 1960s, and let me give a reference from our founding leader, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's speech. In one of his speeches, he was saying, addressing the Pakistani power elites in West Pakistan, he said, if I am saying I am a Punjabi, and Punjabi, if I am saying I am in Balochistan, if I am saying Pushto, if I am saying Karachian, no problem. But when I am saying I am a Bengali, there is a problem for them. They cannot word or accept the word Bengali. Then they try to impose as a Muslim or as a nationality. Same way, if we ask you who is the father of the nation of India, you will say Mahatma Gandhi. If we ask a Pakistani who is the founder, leader, or father of Pakistan, they will say Jinnah. But when you ask those idiots, so who is the father of the nation of Bangladesh, and they will say Ibrahim or Adam, or they will say someone else. This is the core.
Someone have hilariously said we have many fathers.
Yeah, and they are saying now, and also they are saying, and also they turn to be like intellectual clowns. If we mention like Solimullah Khan, Farhad Mujahid, they are kind of intellectual doubts, and those people are misguiding a group of individuals from this generation. And this practice was continuous from the 1971. And why and how it could take place in Bangladesh, let me tell you, I am not agreeing to your question why Bangladesh or Bengalis are intolerant.
That's legitimate.
Let me give you the clarification. After 1971, we got the independence, and Bangabandhu was killed in 1975. After that, we did not get the continuation of our continuous role or stability in our governance in our country. And there was no concrete line, national line or political line, social line. It was like every regime tried to destroy our social structure, political structure, and it was influenced by some superpowers. It was not only just it was not internal problem. There is some international interest, and problem today we are facing in Bangladesh. Problem we faced in 1975. It was not only national problem. It was an international project or international interest, and it is not it is like 1,000 years problem. If you go back to the history of Chittagong port, the Western, let me specify even Western superpowers, they tried to take control over the port. No leadership in the history of thousand years of Bengal accepted the demand or greed, not the Mughal dynasty, not the Sultanate dynasty, not the Shan dynasty, not even no regime accepted this. But somehow Yunus is so happy to collaborate with them to to take them whatever they demand. And the agreement, undisclosable agreement. All the things connected with the colonial spirit, colonial surrender. Yunus is a result of colonial surrender. That's why we see the intolerant, Bengali are not tolerant. But if you talk to an individual who has no education, who has no political line, nobody will show their disrespect to the history of 1971, to Bangabandhu, to the freedom fighters. But this regime purposefully assaulted all the spirits of 1971, all the heroes of 1971. Why they are angry at Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman? Because he is the main architect of Bangladesh. In fact, they are angry at Bangladesh. They cannot accept the independence of Bangladesh. They cannot accept the existence of Bangladesh. Even they try to profile them as the hero for protecting Pakistan, for unifying Pakistan. They claim themselves they are heroes of Pakistan, and their dress code is Razakar. Dress code is patriot Pakistani. They did. If we go back to the archive of the history, the newspaper in 1970s, 1971, I mean, what they are saying today, if we archive it after 10 years or 5 years, some of them will say we made a mistake. A number of intellectuals and editors today who are heroes today, in some years, they will say we made a mistake if they don't cross the limit of double morality, double standard.
Thanks. It's a very complex issue, and that takes me to my second observation and question, whichever way you put it. See, I consider it very legitimate to contradict history because we in India have also been doing that. But at no point of time, as a society or as a nation, we are encouraging people to belittle the national icon. We have many issues. Congress tried to own the independence history. Congress tried to own Mahatma Gandhi. Now we are counter-owning them. We also have an issue of whether there were more leaders. So Netaji Subhash Bose's contribution, we thought that was neglected, and we are now projecting him, but not at the cost of Gandhi. Gandhi is remaining there on our currency notes. Whether he was a good politician, bad politician, all put together, some cases the history must be respected. There is a red line beyond which you don't go, and that you have already given the explained the contradictions in Bangladesh society, and that takes me to the question, a little sharp question: who are they who are so full with hatred? It is a pathological hatred against Mujib. So who are they? Over to you.
They are in fact Pakistani in single word. They don't believe in Bangladesh. They cannot accept the existence of Bangladesh. And there are many individuals off record and on record are making thousands of words, millions of words, directly, indirectly. They got the independence. They confessed it. And difference between India and Bangladesh from 1947 till 2025, you will not find a single Indian who are committed to any other country instead of India. You might have had political difference, ideological difference, religious difference. You might be friends or enemies, no matter. But on single question, single issue, say you believe in India. You are happy or unhappy. But in our country, in our context, 1971, there was a too sharp polarization in favor of independence, against independence. Those people, those individuals who were against 1971 independence, they did not recognize their role as a crime or as a failure. Now they are trying to glorify it. And for glorifying this, they made a cheat project, cheat drama. And for this drama, they found an architect. And the name of the architect is Dr. Muhammad Yunus, who was, by the patronization of Western superpowers, he was offered to give a Nobel Prize. If I am not wrong, once US Foreign Minister Hillary Clinton was on a visit to Delhi, and she made a comment. Once Bangladesh will be Afghanistan. She made it, if I'm not wrong. And at the same time, in my student life, I used to read in the newspaper. At that time, television was not that available. A group of people used to have demonstrations outside the main mosque in Dhaka, Baitul Mukarram, and they used to say, one day we are Taliban, one day Bengal will be Afghan. You see, in 3 decades, now Bangladesh is no more a Bangladesh under the leadership of Muhammad Yunus. It is simple Pakistani Afghanistan. The people who are saying, who are not accepting Bangladesh or Bangladesh's existence, they are simply Pakistani Taliban. They hold the similar spirit line who played a role as Razakars in 1971, helped Pakistani occupying forces to rape Bengali women, Bengali mothers, sisters, and to kill Bengali people, Bengali Hindus, Muslims, and all people who are in favor of Bangladesh or Bangladesh's independence. So it's not easy for them to accept the existence of Bangladesh. Those people luckily got geopolitics in their favor, and they got a high profile Nobel laureate, Muhammad Yunus, and he is a coalition founder, architect of this Taliban era in Bangladesh, combining BNP, Jamaat Islam, all those parties. Despite there are some individuals, some parts are in favor of independence of Bangladesh, but they are minority there.
So is it a losing battle? Just asking.
No, it's not a losing.
I understand you are one of them who want liberation, who respect liberation history. So do you mean to say that the counterforce is a minority?
No.
That if that be the case, then no one can stop this country from going astray.
No, it's not. We are not losing, and it is not frustrating. I am a very much optimistic. How and why? Because if you don't lose the trust in the humanity, if you don't lose the trust in the people, then you have reason to hold your optimism. You are in Dhaka lastly and many times, and you also follow the things closely. In many cases, more than I do. That the power, as I told you before, that a country exists not in the map, but in the minds of millions of people. See, if you walk in this on the streets, if you go any village, even if you find even it's a majority BNP supporter or Jamaat supporter, but you will not find people who has no respect to liberation war heroes, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Tajuddin Ahmed, Maulana Bashani, all these legendary leaders. Only the idiots, stupids, and intellectual clowns who try to make stories, who try to make a plot to stigmatize, to assault those national icons. It's their political business.
Yes,
It's
you use the right word, assaulting the icon, assaulting your own history.
yeah.
The history that you possess. And I'm hopeful, let me tell you, I'm hopeful for a different reason. If you have to whip up a leader who died 50 years ago, then it means that that leader was too tall for you. Don't you agree?
Yeah. For example,
I mean, say for example, in today in India, there is no one is going to get any extra vote by abusing Gandhiji. Just for example, he died so many years ago. Okay, it is not going to make much difference in terms of popular. People will stop them, of course, whosoever does that. But it doesn't make any political sense. So I'm saying from political point of view, if these people want to draw attention, want to gain support by whipping up, by beating, abusing a leader who died 50 years ago, it only means that that leader has always been too significant for everyone around.
yes, I agree with you, and it's very good context. Let me give you a reference. When Awami League was founded in 1949, at that time, Maulana Bhashani was president, and Shamsul Haq, he was from my district, Tangail. He was general secretary, and Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, young Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the joint secretary, the third important leader. And Shamsul Haq wrote a book. It was called Boikanik Dishtite Islam. Islam in line with science, according to science. There he explained one line from Quran. It means La ilaha illallah. It means in the beginning they are denying there is no God, no Allah. It means in the beginning you are going to be secular. So non-believer, then you are accepting someone else. If we explain at the context that when they are denying Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, it means there is no alternative to him. They know it. Even they know better than we do.
By denying, they are keeping him alive.
Yeah. So this is their, they are trying to be so clever, but they did the foolish job.
Anisur, let's move to the final question. In a podcast, you are always running against time. Dr. Yunus promised to create a free, democratic Bangladesh. What happened next? In fact, he promised the moon. He sold the moon to Bangladeshis. So, what happened next? Let me pick out one, since we started with the remarks of the press secretary. So, let me pick out the media freedom, which is a benchmark of the freedom of speech. And it was alleged that the freedom of speech was seriously carved during Hasina rule. And I must agree that there was a degree of correctness in that, truth in that. The question is simple and straight. Has Bangladeshi media become freer in last 1 year? We saw recently a whole newspaper house being taken over by some staff members on the very issue of allegedly, the newspaper editor expressed grief at Mujib's death. This was the month of grief for you, used to be. And it was just using that as a pretext, rightly or wrongly. They have taken over, and I don't know. I mean, unreal things happen in Bangladesh. So, how do you relate to the promises of Dr. Yunus and where you are landing up with? Over to you.
Firstly, Sheikh Hasina's time, there was a problem with freedom of expression. It was not the political problem. It was problem manufactured by the high-profile senior journalists and the media owners. For their own interest, they lost their capacity to run a newspaper professionally or to run a media house professionally, because they tried to use media houses in favor of their business, in favor of their family interest and individual benefit. And this blame must not be put upon the government or Sheikh Hasina or Awami League. Yes, there are some exceptional problems from different quarters. Such problem in a country like Bangladesh, it can happen. Politically, there is no reason to blame on the government last 15 years.
I do agree to your point of view to some extent that, in fact, in my findings in many cases of so-called police, excesses, I found that it was basically personal rivalry in many cases, and people tried to please, somehow or the other, they tried to please God knows whom, and did their excesses. So there was definitely an element of many personal things which were attributed to the government. I do agree.
At that time, did Mahfouz Anam, Nurul Kabir, Mujibur Rahman have any problem? Even Nurul Kabir used to meet Prime Minister, and he had good relation with Prime Minister advisor Tariq Ahmed Siddiq, and Mujibur Rahman's colleagues were in.
No, let's not take names, but so where do we stand now?
We stand now. It's a crime of total tyranny. It's a 1 year was an era of democracy. The reformation or transition or waiting for an election, constitution, all these are bogus and bullshit to excuse or sleeping pill to misguide people. Even today, Yunus's party, National Citizens Party's leaders are saying today there will be no election in February next year. They have many cards to play on their board to keep the power in their control. Without election, or even they hold an election, it will be an worst election in the history of Bangladesh. It will be never accepted by the people of Bangladesh. It will never be appreciated. If they can hold an election in short time, then there will be due another election. Or if they hold an election excluding majority people, not the majority party only, so they cannot run the country as a civilized country. If they want to run, if they want to copy like Afghanistan, yes, they are doing now, they can continue, but everything will have an end. If we don't forget, the war criminals in 1971, killers of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman were tried, punished. Criminals in other war crimes and other wars, there are long records. So the crimes they are committing today,
Those who
everything will
opposed
have
liberation in 1971 are at the Haim today. They are at running that show in the Jamaati Islami is very much a power now.
power because
Those
of they have
those
international.
who killed, there are some podcasters, some Bangladeshi bloggers are bringing out, the people who allegedly who killed Mujib and with showcasing them with fanfare. It's a complete contradiction of sorts. Probably a
Yes,
little
yes,
uncivil too, to my
yes.
tastes.
Yeah, I agree with you. But this is our backward. Who we believe in Bangladesh. We believe in the independence we got in 1971. We believe in secular, progressive Bengali society, Bangladesh, including all religious and non-religious people. But there is an end because in the long run, the oppressed will win, not the oppressor. If we believe in Bangladesh, if we believe in this landscape, if you don't believe in this landscape, if they want to surrender to US or if they want to be a colony, so they can be colony as well.
Yeah, you have a point. I mean, at the same time, Bangladesh is an unpredictable country. It has some terrific resilience, which is unparalleled.
This is the time to fight back.
This is a country which has always been coming around, which was purely written off back in 1974 by USA, as we all know, the bottomless pit,
Yeah.
right? And from there, it had come back. And that is the history of Bangladesh of coming back. So I'm very hopeful about it. I do share your sentiments. Thank you, Anisur, for joining this podcast, and it will be out on 15th August. So I hope we could give them a good perspective of India and Bangladesh. Sheikh Mujib, these are our regional icons. Sheikh Mujib is undoubtedly an icon, one of the tallest icons of South Asia. So we must remember him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.